This week, we talk about which Disney classics most deserve a live action remake and which don't. Pop some corn, grab a soda, and take a seat. You're now listening to The Casual Cinema. Welcome, everyone, to the third episode of The Casual Cinema. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Nathan, and this week we'll be talking about which Disney classics are most in need of a live action remake and which aren't. Now, what we're going to be doing today is looking at the upcoming Disney slate. That is, all the movies that Disney are planning on turning, I guess you could say, animated movies into live action movies and deciding whether or not those movies are actually worthy of being remade. Because some of them we don't think are. So, in honor of Dumbo, we thought we'd have a look into the future and see which movies are worthy. So, without any further ado, let's just get started. So, Nathan.
Hi.
What do you think? Yeah. Hi, how you going? What do you think of this year's slate with Aladdin and Lion King in particular?
Well, when I first heard the news about Aladdin, I was pretty keen. I think it's one of my favorite Disney animated movies. The trailers haven't given me a lot of hope, but I'm going to try and remain hopeful because there's potential there, and I'm hoping like the songs and the sets are really nice and there's something there to enjoy, but I'm a bit worried about the casting. I can say that much.
Well, I guess, are you segueing into Will Smith, or are you...
Well, I think everyone's not casted that great. Will Smith is okay. He's like, I'm not disappointed in the casting. It's more the CGI. I guess they're done with the genie. He looks a lot better when he's just in human form in like that costume. That's fine.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
I think Aladdin doesn't look right. It just doesn't feel like Aladdin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have the same attachment to Aladdin that some people have. And in terms of whether or not I'm more excited for Aladdin or Lion King, I'm actually probably more excited for Aladdin only because I actually like Aladdin better than the Lion King. I know that's probably controversial. That doesn't mean I've been impressed by the trailers as well. I think the most disappointing thing for me has definitely been Jafar. I don't know why they've gone with like this. He looks like some late 20s, early 30s kind of guy who's like really short to play Jafar. I don't really understand why.
You don't get villain vibes from him. No way. It does not feel like a villain when you see him on screen. And the way he talks.
He just doesn't look like a villain to me. I feel like Jafar should have been this tall, lanky kind of guy because he's got that in the actual movie. He's got that kind of sunken face, and I feel like that's something that we could have seen here, but we didn't. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I always have this kind of, I guess you could say theory. I wouldn't say theory, but when I look at remakes, I think there's always going to be two reasons why you make a remake. One, you're either going to be bringing some new dimension to the table, so something new, or basically you're going to try and make a better version of what has come before. Now,
I feel like that applies when you're remaking something that's already live action. Like the fact that they're taking something that's animated to live action, that's already doing something different. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, with that, there's gonna be minor and major changes because you have to.
Yeah, and I understand that too. But for me, it's that question of, is the major change from animation to live action enough to bring a new dimension to this movie, or are you actually changing something? Are you actually, doing something with the story? Because I think story is more important. The idea of what are you doing to the story that's different. And at the moment with Aladdin, I think I'm just kind of sitting in the middle. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'll wait and see. I'm not excited. I'm not disappointed. The last trailer that we got a few weeks ago was actually, good, I thought. But as we've said, some things I'm just kind of like, I'll see.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's gonna go either way. It doesn't. Yeah, not too excited. Not.
But
Yeah,
but as
it
yeah,
deserves a
but the
chance,
question,
but I don't
yeah,
know.
it does deserve a
I
chance.
think
Yeah.
in terms of remaking as well, it is giving it to another generation of kids. Yeah, because obviously they didn't grow up with the animated one. So instead of them just like re-releasing or doing another animated version, they're bringing like the story back in a live action fashion. So it's also for that reason I think as well that they're redoing it.
Yeah, and I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, I mean, you could honestly just re-release the original animated or do something like that. I've never seen it as a bringing it for a new generation as much as it's kind of like, well, this movie's already there and it's animated, and most animated movies hold up pretty well, especially during that era of what you could call the renaissance of Disney. So I feel like Aladdin itself, you know, still holds up. In terms of whether or not the movie should be rebooted, I mean, I don't know. I think that if we weren't thinking about the trailers and we were just thinking about Aladdin, I think that right now, I think it's probably one of those movies that's kind of, again, in the middle, like my excitement for it. Because you're kind of like, do we need a reboot? Or a remake, I should say. I don't know, because I mean, you could say with Robin Williams passing, would there ever be anyone as good as Genie? Obviously, the comparisons have been made with Will Smith. So I don't know. I'm kind of just sitting in the middle as to whether or not it should have been remade in the first place and whether or not it actually will be good.
Look, I was just trying to be nice. Obviously, it's Disney; they just want money. Okay.
Well, for any listeners out there, basically this entire list of movies that we're about to go through is basically Disney wanting money anyway, because why else do you remake a movie? But anyway, unless you've got anything else to say about Aladdin, we might quickly move on to The Lion King, and so kind of get your thoughts on whether or not we should be getting, well, we should get a remake of The Lion King in the first place.
Yeah. Now, I mean, everything you just said about Aladdin probably is like double affects The Lion King because I think it's way more beloved movie and has a lot like a way bigger fan base. So like there's obviously a lot more room for disappointment there in terms of everyone who's grown up and once is going to go see the live action one. Um, it's tough because it's live action, but it's not yet because it's entirely CGI. It's almost just like an ultra realistic animation.
Yeah, it's basically just what they did with the Jungle Book. Really, it's basically just going to be
Yeah,
that. So
yeah, for sure. I don't know but I'm impressed by what I've seen in the trailers, but they haven't really shown anything.
yeah, well, I mean, again, it's that question of we had to see more. If you had said to me again the same story with Aladdin, if you had said to me beforehand, and this is like you said, it's kind of double that with Aladdin. If you had said to me beforehand, hey, we're going to do a live action remake of The Lion King, I would say, why? I would say you don't need that. For me, this, surprisingly enough, and this could be a pretty wild take on it, I just think this one is one where I'm like, I don't think we need a remake. The only thing I think that you could probably improve upon is the second half of the story itself, everything with Simba when he's older. Um, but other than that, I feel that though the original Lion King is by no means a masterpiece, and I'm sorry for any other listeners out there who think it is, because if you do think it is, then sure, you're allowed to have that opinion, but I don't think so.
If they're extending, well, I assume they might be. They're probably extending the length of the movie, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So maybe they can do like a lot more character development with Simba, like as he's growing up and getting older when he's living in the jungle with Pumbaa and Timon. That's what they called, yeah. Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
then that could be interesting because I feel like it just gets skipped over with the montage, and then you just have a rushed final act. If they can draw that out a bit, it could be more interesting.
I mean, I definitely agree. I think that the comparison is that, when you look at what the director Jon Favreau did with Jungle Book, was that he made Mowgli and his kind of coming of age tale really compelling. And I think that they could probably do that well enough with Simba if they extend that montage into a bigger part of the movie, because you're right, it does kind of just go by really quickly and they sing a song through it,
Yeah.
and it's a good song.
Well, you can still have the song, just Yeah, you don't have to skip everything.
Of course, but you don't have to like skip over everything else. So, I mean, if I'm giving my final thoughts on The Lion King, it would just be that, I mean, I don't think it needed to be remade. I mean, if you can make the improvements, then sure, go right ahead. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's one that even more so than Aladdin, I'm just kind of like, no, I don't think we necessarily needed it. I think this is more of a cash grab than what Aladdin is.
It's definitely the one that probably holds up the most, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that that's probably just based on its story alone, and the animation as well. I think that obviously the Shakespearean influences going on in Lion King make its story a bit more, I guess what you could say, ageless. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, you're right. It is more famous, so it probably will make a lot of money, and who knows, it might be better than Aladdin. We'll see. Um, anyway, moving on. So the next movie that Disney have got kind of slated is a bit of an odd one because it looks like it's going to be out on the Disney Plus streaming service or whatever, but it's kind of not confirmed yet, and that is Lady and the Tramp. Um, Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Nathan, because I'm just kind of sitting here going, I don't know.
well, uh, look, I think with this a theatrical release probably maybe not such a good idea because I feel like definitely you'll definitely everyone will be like why they'll be on the same page as you, like why are you remaking this? It's not even that big of a film. Like no one really still talks about it, do they? So but with this streaming platform they're releasing, they have the opportunity to maybe take the ones that aren't as big and won't do so well in theaters, and they can experiment like what they're doing with Star Wars and Marvel. They're releasing like these side stories and like telling like different things that maybe you wouldn't put in theaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true. There is more space to kind of move around with the movies that are definitely lesser known. But The Lady and the Tramp isn't that. I mean, I agree with you. It is a lesser known film than say Lion King or Aladdin.
So it's this one. It's going to be live action, yeah.
Yeah, it is going to be live action. So it kind of begs that question of, again, are they going down the route of, well, I was going to say, are they going down the route of The Jungle Book and Lion King, but there are human characters in it. They're just not the focus of the movie. So
I think it's good for kids because cats or dogs they love them, right? Kids
yeah.
love pets, and you can have like the almost like the movie Cats and Dogs, like how the actual animals are there and they just kind of like have the animated face, which looks creepy, but you can do it better now because it's 2019.
Well, I think that if Jungle Book proves anything, then you can definitely do it better.
Yeah, so it might be alright. Like I'm interested to see it. But, yeah.
I mean, I never actually seen Lady and the Tramp. So.
Okay, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I remember enjoying it, but I was a kid, so I don't know. There's like the famous scene with the spaghetti. They suck it up and they kiss each other. Like, seeing that, like, with realistic dogs might be cute or weird. I don't know. Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Anyway, moving on to the next movie. Okay, so the teaser poster for this was released, I think it was about a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or something. And that was for Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Now, well, I'm one of those people...
I'm just going to start off by saying I haven't seen the first one. So.
Okay, alright. Well, I'm going to say this. I thought that Angelina Jolie was good in the first Maleficent as Maleficent. She was good. The problem I have with the first movie is that it made Maleficent into a hero when traditionally she is a villain. Now, it kind of contradicts what I brought up before when I said that a remake often should be made to add a new layer or dimension to a movie. And in this case, they did. Because Sleeping Beauty, it's a fairly old film. I think it's one of Disney's oldest. I think it's their second princess movie after Snow White. And I can see why they went down this route and tried to twist the story around and do something different. The problem with this is, for me, it's kind of like taking the character of Darth Vader and then or the Emperor, and then all of a sudden saying, "Oh, don't worry, they were actually good all along." And it's kind of like, but what? And I feel the same way with Maleficent. So in that respect, I'm like, I don't really care about a sequel. I'm definitely intrigued about why they're making one, not necessarily what the movie will be. I'm kind of like, oh, you guys are making a sequel? okay. But again, how this will continue the mythos, I guess, of Sleeping Beauty by, I'm presuming it will remake more stuff, or it'll just do something completely different. Who the hell knows? All I know is I'm not especially interested in this one, so if you've got nothing to say, Nathan, I mean...
Yeah, what can I say? I haven't seen it. If we do a review of this, I guess I have to see the first one.
Oh god, please no. Anyway,
Or we can just not do it.
I could just skip it. It's all good. Anyway, let's just quickly move on to get to the next one. Mulan. Thoughts on Mulan?
Now, this is one I watched like a few years ago, and I've only seen it once. I didn't watch it when I was a child, so I don't have any attachment to it. I think it's a good movie. Has some good songs in it for sure. But apparently you told me they're not gonna have songs in this. Was it you that told me that?
Yeah, so I don't know what the full deal is, but this is what I had heard. I had heard that this remake of Mulan will not feature any songs, basically, or at least any of the songs from the movie. Now,
if you're just gonna make it like an action movie, that's kind of weird, and I don't know. Like, I think it'd still be probably like a powerful story. I don't know, but then are they just trying to do the whole like strong female lead kind of thing? Is that what they're going for?
well, I'd hope not. I'd hope they didn't just go for a Mary Sue kind of route.
Because it almost sounds like they're getting rid of like, I guess what you could traditionally call like a girly aspect of the movie.
But it's not even that. Like, the funny thing is, right, like, I just feel like Mulan itself isn't especially girly. The movie doesn't feel especially girly.
In fact, don't like the men do most of the singing in that movie?
Yeah, and even, like, right, this is how it works, right? Even if it was an especially girly movie, and, that depends on what your definition of girly is, for all that matter.
Contradictory in 2019, but I'm just...
Yeah, but we're just saying that, like... For me, Mulan is one of those movies where I'm interested to see what they do with it. I agree that it's a good movie. How it will be rebooted or remade, is a complete mystery to me if they are going to get rid of the songs, because I just feel like it's such a missed opportunity because of what I think is one of the best Disney songs in the film. I'll make, as what do you call it? I'll Make a Man Out of You, is that the song?
Look, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. But obviously, maybe in today's climate, that song isn't, people will look at it and go, oh, I'll make a man out of you, how sexist. I mean...
Yeah, but isn't that the whole point of the section, though? Because it's like, that part in the movie, it's like, saying a man, and they don't know she's a woman at that part in the movie, right?
Yeah, I think it's
more... Yeah, so that's the whole context, right? And then it turns out, she actually is a really, like... strong, independent character, even though she is a female. Like, that's the whole point of the song. Like, so to not include it's almost worse because you're removing.
I don't know. It depends if they're going for a more historical realism route, or if they're going for a proper or full-on, true to the original remake.
It sounds generic if it's just gonna be like. I feel like that movie just on its own probably already exists like a live action, or where it just runs off, joins the army and whatever. Yeah.
The actual story of Mulan is true, and it did actually happen. It's, from what I'm aware of, the tale itself is a lot grimmer than what the movie portrayed it to be, and there have been live action versions of this tale, because not even just saying live action, but there have been adaptations of this already that aren't animated. And I have seen glimpses of them, and they look actually quite good without, like, the sort of production design. You're kind of getting this, it's not ancient China, but you're kind of getting that Chinese historical war kind of time movie that's got a whole lot of action in it. And from what I've seen, those movies, they look good.
I guess it will be entertaining, but since it is like Disney and they are remaking the one that everyone's already seen and loves, it feels weird to take it in such a direction, just like flip it so much. So
I guess this is another instance where if you had told me that they were gonna keep the songs, or if you had not told me that they were gonna get rid of the songs, I probably would have been like, yeah, by all means, remake Mulan, But because of that news that they won't necessarily include the songs, that makes me kind of go, do we need a remake? So
I mean, they're doing what you said a remake needs to do, and that's mix it up a bit.
I know, but I guess you know what the funny thing is, like you say, I always contradict myself when I say that now, but I guess it's that thing of, when you make a remake, I guess there's that aura of you want to do something new, but you probably want to honor or at least pay homage to what has come before.
There's definitely a fine line.
And I think that in the case of movies such as Maleficent, I think it almost crossed, or it kind of crossed that line by almost telling a completely different story. And I think in this case, it's one of those instances where I hope they can find that balance, and I wished they could find that balance. And if they don't include the songs, will we see the scale tip in the wrong direction? But I don't know. It's, again, another instance where we've got to wait and see. But if you had told me before the news of the songs not being included, I think I would have been more excited for a remake, and would have definitely thought it was deserving. Now I'm kind of questioning it more. But anyway, if we've got nothing to say more on Mulan, we should move on to obviously the most exciting movie on this list, and the most puzzling movie on the Disney slated list is Cruella, presumably based on Cruella de Vil, the villain from 101 Dalmatians.
Rumored to be played by Emma Stone as well.
Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm confused what this movie's going to be about, really. I don't...
Yeah, I mean...
Backstory? Growing up, getting bit by dogs or something? I don't know.
I guess they're going down another Maleficent route, I'm presuming, and they might try and...
She's actually a good guy.
Yeah, they might try and turn her into a good person who somehow captures...
She loves dogs. She's just misunderstood.
Well, I don't actually remember her character. I don't remember. Does she hate dogs, or she just hate Dalmatians? I feel like she just hates Dalmatians.
Doesn't she just want to sell them for money?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's her character.
That sounds right.
If that's the case, I'm kind of like, why the hell are we getting a movie about a woman who wants to sell dogs?
I think she does hate dogs. I think she does.
Maybe.
But she doesn't. I don't know. She's just like a criminal, and she doesn't. And I know Dalmatians are worth a lot of money, so I don't know if it's like she said there's 101 of them. It's like, wow, if I steal and sell all of them, even though I hate dogs, I could make a lot of money. I think that's what happened. I don't know. Yeah, I'm making it up at this point.
I don't really know what kind of a story they'd make out of this one. All I know is that in terms of a remake, this is not a remake. I think. I mean, if you're counting it as a remake of 101 Dalmatians, I guess you are.
It's not. I mean, it's already a live-action movie. And there's already 2 of them as well.
Yeah, so we'll just count Cruella as like a new interpretation then of the material, a spin-off. I don't know. All I know is it's
maybe
a spin-off.
Maybe a prequel. I don't know.
Yeah, all I know is it's a spin-off. I'm not really interested in.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Anyway, if we're all good there, let's move on again. Pinocchio. Now, this one, I think out of all the ones I've seen so far on the list that we do have in front of us, is the one that I'm probably most excited for, because I don't know a huge amount about Pinocchio. But I do like the idea of Disney remaking movies that are either so old that, they really aren't movies that are as familiar with people, and bringing those movies into a new kind of territory, I guess. So I think that Pinocchio, to me, is actually probably the most interesting one that they could possibly remake. But I don't know where you're standing on it, because I don't know if you're familiar with Pinocchio either.
Yeah, I haven't seen the animated one, but I shocked you before we started with that I've seen a live-action one that was actually made in 1996, the year we were born. The Adventures of Pinocchio. I don't know who made this. I don't know. But I watched it a lot when I was a kid and I enjoyed it. It has pretty bad reviews, so it's, I guess my childhood memory made it better. My child brain. But Yeah, I'm keen to see another one. Obviously, no one really knows about this one, so
That's why I feel like it's just one of those kind of movies where you're like, oh, I don't know a huge amount about Pinocchio, so why not? I
yeah.
know
And
it.
I feel like Shrek made him like a really popular character as well.
Yeah, I did boost his popularity again, so yeah, why not? Simul Pinocchio probably would be good. So I think this one in terms of a remake, I'm actually I think yes, this deserves a remake. Now, after that, we'll try and quickly get through these ones so that we can go through kind of, I guess, or at least name a movie that's not on this list that we would like to see remade. So we'll quickly try and get through what we've got left. So we've got next is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Try and be quick about this. I've never seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I haven't.
I've never seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I hear it's quite good. I hear it's actually one of Disney's most underrated movies. And I don't know about this one. I'm kind of like, sure.
It's a really good movie. It's a bit dark as well. Like a live action version would be a bit creepy, I would say, because you're like there's a hunchback who lives in the bell tower, and there's like the gargoyles that talk to him. Like that all sounds pretty like kind of freaky for a kid to watch. Even animated, it's a bit freaky.
Yeah,
But it's a really good story. Yeah, I think it would make a great live action movie.
yeah. Even just you talking about it, the idea of like gargoyles and stuff like that, that actually sounds really cool. Um, yeah, we'll go with the pass on Hunchback. Sure, why not? Next, Lilo and Stitch. This
I
one,
don't know.
this one's odd because on the one hand, I'm like, I want to see more Stitch because I like Stitch. And I think Lilo and Stitch is actually a really fun movie. On the other hand, I'm like, this movie came out in 2002, and the idea that we could be getting a remake as soon as we are makes me kind of go, oh, I mean, okay.
Well,
um,
2002 sounds recent, but that was a pretty long time ago. It's a
yeah,
pretty long
okay.
time
Think about
ago.
it. It was 17 years ago. Maybe we are just old. I guess. So, I mean, sure, why not? I mean, I say sure. Lilo and Stitch, okay. A remake, why
Yeah,
not?
again, have to wait and see. I feel like we don't know enough about it. If they're just gonna, yeah, recreate exactly what it was or do something completely different, it just depends.
Now, I know you have some thoughts on the next movie, which is coincidentally the last movie on our list besides some smaller projects that Disney have coming up, which is The Little Mermaid. Now, initially, I was kind of like, why isn't this movie being made sooner? This should be a no-brainer, seeing it's probably one of Disney's most popular films. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on it? Because,
Yeah, okay, so I recently rewatched this one on Stan because they have all the Disney movies. Yeah, and oh man, it's a really slow paced and I would say boring movie. Like, I guess a kid would enjoy it. And the main problem I had with it, like plot wise, is I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to take. I know it's part of the story, but to take the voice of your main character and not have them talk for half the movie. That's just a really dumb idea because it's almost like a silent film for like whole sections, and I just yeah, I was really bored watching it.
well, I can't really comment, but I am aware of some of the stuff in it. But, like, if you say it's kind of like maybe, well, do you say maybe it is in need of a remake so they can fix things then?
If they apparently someone told me that the original story, her voice isn't taken; it's something else. Like it's like a contract with the sea witch, and so she
Yeah.
has to like exchange something for the legs. They could just do anything. I think yeah, not having your main character talk for like almost half the movie, it's just a really bad choice.
Well, if that's the
It's almost like
case, yeah.
when you have a video game and your character doesn't talk. It's never a good idea. It always makes it more boring.
Well, it's one of those situations, right? Like, well, obviously, with video games, it's a bit different because sometimes the silent protagonist can work. But we're talking about a movie, not a video game. And if the protagonist is just going to be quiet for half the movie, it's kind of like, well, what the hell's the point? So I get where you're coming from there. Yeah.
It's just her trying to communicate and like she has to try and get the prince to fall in love with her in a certain amount of time, by sunrise or whatever, classic princess stuff. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, she loses her voice forever or something. I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, so she has to like try and convince him without saying anything to kiss her.
Right.
which is a weird concept, and I don't know. Maybe it would work better in live action. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's got as many, I guess, unusual things going on in it as you say, or it has problems, then I guess it is probably in need of being remade in some sort of way. Um, but I mean, at this point, I'd have to see it to formulate my own opinion. I'm
I
kind of
mean,
just
it also has another one of the best songs in the Disney
yes, yeah,
movies,
as well.
which
Yeah.
is the only good song in the movie. May I just add, the other songs are not good.
Well then,
I don't know. I'm hating on the movie. I don't know why. I just really did not like it.
well, that's all right though. But again, if you didn't like it, then it leaves room for okay, you know, in your opinion, do you think it should be remade?
yeah, why not? It's really old, and that's probably part of why it's not the best. Well, I'm saying that, but like Snow White's a really good movie, and that's like ancient, right? But yeah, they can fix it. I feel like they can make it a bit. There's potential there to make it better.
I agree. All right, now that's it for the upcoming movies. There are some planned projects that Disney do have coming up. I did want to spend some time going through those, but we're kind of short on time here, so I think we might just kind of skip over and, if you've got any ideas from the planned projects, you can use those. But I think just get into maybe just one remake that we would like to see that maybe has not been mentioned. Now, if you haven't got one in mind, that's okay. But if you
No,
do,
I think I do actually.
okay, let us hear it. What is?
Well, I just mentioned Snow White.
Yeah,
Now there hasn't been like just a proper Snow White movie, has it? There's been like the Huntsman spin-off or whatever.
yeah. There's been the Huntsman, which isn't obviously related to Disney's Snow White. It is obviously different. So yeah, there has not been Disney's Snow White.
Well, why not? Like that's one of the. It's their first animated feature, isn't it, or something?
It is. Yeah, it was their actual first sorry, not live action.
I
Animated
mean,
feature.
yeah, I reckon go for it. Remake that in live action. Snow White's the really popular princess. It's a good simple story, like that everyone likes, and I feel like it's not that hard to do in live action either. I reckon heaps of potential there. Good opportunity for get some short actors in there. Get some like Peter Dink. You could have Peter Dinklage in there. Other small actors like Danny DeVito.
I don't know if Danny DeVito's he's short. I'll give you that, but you are right. I mean, it does offer for more. It does offer more diversity, I think. So, yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things though where I think with Snow White, it's just a matter of how they remake it, what they change, what they keep the same. But seeing as how it is the oldest film, I definitely agree that it could definitely use with a live action remake. The movie I was kind of going for kind of a bit of a wild card, but I only recently thought about it, and it's Atlantis, The Lost Empire. The reason why I picked Atlantis, funny enough, is because to me it's one of those movies that kind of is almost like Treasure Planet. It kind of just gets lost in the mix, and I think that. But despite the fact that Disney owns Star Wars or Lucasfilm and Marvel, and that's kind of their massive producers of science fiction, I feel like a new remake, or at least a remake of Atlantis, could actually be really cool. Maybe it might not be able to reach the same level of a live action film, but definitely a live action television series might work. But no, I just thought the whole idea with Milo and all of his, like the crew that go down to Atlantis, there's lots of jokes with them, and I just feel like the movie itself could really benefit from a live action remake. I mean, I don't know what you think about Atlantis, but I thought, no, why not?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, well, that's all right, but to me it was just like I remember I watched it more when I was a kid. And I tried to watch it recently, and the story kind of just rushes, I feel like, from point to point. But it's got some great visuals, and I mean, I love it because of the fact that Michael J. Fox is the lead voice. But no, it's got some...
That makes me want to watch it straight away.
Yeah, he plays the lead character.
like I've heard of it before and people talk about it a lot. I think that is another like beloved film. So yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
Go
I
for
just
it.
feel like there's room for it, and there's a market for Disney to go back into that sci-fi route. So
Look, the way they're going, they're probably going to remake every animated movie they've ever done. That's what it
yeah,
feels
I
like
mean,
at this
let's be
point.
honest. I mean, you are right. They're going to do everything, whether we want them to or not.
Because I think I actually saw something that they're thinking of doing Snow White. So it's something I just thought of, but apparently they might be doing it
Well,
already.
we've got besides Snow White. I mean, the other planned projects that we were going to mention before, but we kind of skipped over. We've got like Peter Pan, Sword in the Stone. They're going to get even Tinkerbell her own movie. We're giving the Black Cauldron might be getting a remake as well. Um, so there's a whole list of movies they're definitely going to be remaking. Because as we know, most film studios are just like money, money, money. But I can hope that there's an attention to quality rather than an attention to just let's make some money. Because I think so far the live action films have mostly been very good. Um, but you do have your kind of mediocre films that are just kind of like eh. And I think the one bad movie we think we got was that sequel to Alice in Wonderland, which I never saw. I only ever saw the first Alice in Wonderland, which I actually thought was an all right movie.
Yeah, it's
But
not
I
bad.
never saw the second one.
I thought Beauty and the Beast was done really well. That was a really good live action remake.
Yeah, and that's one I did not see.
Oh well, I recommend
But
it. It was good.
to be fair, there are some movies that we kind of skipped over as well in like that in movies that have come out. I mean, like I skipped over Pete's Dragon, and I completely forgot about the fact that there was a live action remake of Pete's Dragon. Um, I was just like, oh, there was that movie. Oh, okay.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what Peach Dragon is, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of, but for me, Jungle Book's probably just been their best movie. I talked about it before, but I think it's been their best live action remake so far. I really enjoy the Jungle Book. So look, I mean, I can hope we get more Jungle Books, and if you think of Beauty and the Beast is really good, then more Beauty and the Beasts. But as we said, I think it's that balance. Find that right balance between um, paying homage to what's come before and doing something different. And if you can find that balance, then and tell a really good story at the same time, then you're definitely going to get people in the movie theater. Um, anyway, I think that about wraps it up. If you've got anything else to say, then anything else to chime in with, I think we're all good.
No, yeah, we can end it here. I've said everything we need to say.
Yep, no worries then. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening this week. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll let you know sooner than a date what's going on.
Well, yeah, a review of some kind.
There might be a review. Who knows? Anyway, guys, we'll catch you next week.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.